So what are your thoughts on the current jazz education books and aids that are available? You're one of the first with your stuff. That's evolved into literally an industry. I mean, Jamie Abersol's catalog, the stuff he sells, is
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of mind-boggling. From your perspective, what works and what doesn't work?
I think there's a lot of great stuff out there. A lot of great musicians have contributed some really good stuff. The market's kind of glutted now. You know, I mean, there's so much stuff. If you look at Jamie Abersol's catalog, it's kind of like, what do I buy? You know. So I think we still count on teachers to recommend things that they've had personal experience with, and that's as it should be. Uh, you know, I've got 3 or 4 books on my desk right now that former students have sent me that they've written to get my feedback, and you know, there's people just continually trying to express themselves and get stuff out there, and I think it's great. You know, I mean, it's just like players, you know. I mean, we always have a new generation coming up. I think we have a new generation of musicians that are going to contribute some new ideas that could be really important, you know. So.
Well, when you started writing. You're one of the first people to put this stuff down. And when you started, it was just, as you said, North Texas and Berkeley. Now, I guess 50 years later, the world has changed. I mean, there's an explosion of jazz education around the planet,
Yeah.
and also, as you mentioned, a glut of materials. Why is that? Why, 50 years later, is there so much interest in the music? This is a music that's not at the forefront of our society. Jazz musicians are not, and for us, people like John Coltrane and Dizzy Gillespie and Charlie Parker are held up on a pedestal. Most people on the street have no idea who they are.
Right.
And jazz is kind of a niche, but yet this thing is exploding on this planet, and there are kids. The quality of kids who come into this program is very, very high, very professional standards there. Maybe not as high every place else, but still tremendous interest in this music and education on the planet. From your perspective, you've been part of it. Why is that?
Well, jazz and classical music, for that matter, are underground music. So let's face it, they'll never enjoy wide popularity. So it's almost kind of like music was in the courts back in, you know, Mozart's time or whatever. You know, now it's in the universities. You know, and I think it's our job in the universities to preserve this music and foster it. There are little ways, little encouraging signs here and there where you'll see maybe increased popularity, or, you know, certain artists getting more recognition. You know, Wynton Marsalis, for instance, has been a real good ambassador for the music because he's a great player and has proven that both on the classical side and the jazz side. And he's a good guy, and I mean, he's visited our school a couple times and just hung out with the kids and so forth, and didn't ask anything. And you know, so that's real love of the music, you know. And there are people like that, I think, that are helping bring more respect and recognition to the music. I mean, you know, the 1 o'clock consistently puts out a high level product that's, you know, the standard as far as big bands in this country. And maybe we'll finally get a Grammy sometime. Probably, you know, we're holding our breath, but you know, it should happen. As far as excellence, it's deserving, you know. But the Grammy's got other problems, you know. This whole thing with Latino music, I mean, is stupid. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know what's going to come of that. I've been chatting with my friend Mark Levine, you know, and I'll see him in January at the Gen conference up there, and he's going to be on a panel discussion about it, a Grammy panel discussion, which should be really interesting. But anyway, you know, we keep trying to make inroads, and we turn out. I mean, we have high-level musicians all over the world performing and making a living doing this music, and that should speak for it, if nothing else.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, from the standpoint of a parent watches these videos and sees this stuff, and as a talented kid in junior high school who's looking possibly to go in this direction. Parent says to you, is this a viable life for a young person to, a career? You know, it's kind of like only a very small percentage are going to be the top jazz performers, but there are different ways to make music, to make a living doing this. Is it a viable thing for a young person to consider a life in this?
Well, I always tell parents and the students themselves to tell their parents, first of all, you know, you don't have to defend a jazz education degree or a jazz performance degree. Just get a degree. It represents you're an educated person, that you've had the stuff to see this through and persevere and do it. But I sometimes wonder, what are all these graduates going to do? Are they going to make it? You know, but I have faith that you know, the cream floats to the top, and the outstanding musicians are going to do well. There's going to be some mortality rate. It can't be avoided. You know, I constantly hear, like on Facebook, I'll hear from people that were students here that are, you know, in some commercial field or doing this or that, something totally unrelated to music, and doing very well. And so they've found their path, you know. And, you know, we can't be calloused about it, but we also have to realize that everybody basically has to work that out and find their own lifestyle and their own path. I do think a musician has a lot of options. You know, he can teach, he can play, he can write, he can teach privately or teach in a college or high school. You know, I mean, there are a lot of choices there for developing a lifestyle. And if they're versatile, which we always encourage around here, they can play in a salsa band or they can play in a commercial dance band or, you know, whatever. If they're kind of snobbish, I mean, I remember talking to a guy in New York one time when I was playing with Al Persino's band. He said, man, I just want to play like Bird. And I thought, well, that's great. That's a great aspiration, but you ain't going to work much, baby. You know? So, you know, I think that's one of the things we try to foster here is an attitude of being a good musician who's versatile and can play anything, you know.
What are you doing now?
I'm retired, but I'm still teaching part-time, and I'm enjoying that because when I was full-time, I was teaching mainly classes and, you know, developing classes because when I was hired, the dean asked me to get some things going for our freshman students. They couldn't do anything until they were a sophomore or junior in improvisation and arranging. So I developed the 2 semesters theory course for the freshmen, the jazz keyboard course for all jazz students, and the jazz ear training course. And these were all prerequisites to go on and do that. But I was really involved with classroom teaching. And I'd take a couple of piano students each semester just as an extra thing, you know. Well, now I'm just doing private students, and I'm really enjoying that. I think I'm getting better as a private teacher now, because I've really had time to kind of get involved with that and think about it. And I'm really enjoying it, because we have so many good students here, and they're really motivated, and they're just fun to work with, you know.
Yeah. Well, you've worked all your life teaching and sharing this, and what do you personally get from teaching?
Well, I personally believe that we should all be both students and teachers of this music our whole life. There really shouldn't be any distinction. I learn a lot from teaching, because every time, you know, I'm probed with a question, it's kind of like, okay, what is that? You know, I need to know more about it. So it's great mental stimulation, you know, which is a good thing for someone at my age. Mental stimulation is a very good thing. But I think it's just this sense, our legacy, or it's our way of being immortal in a way, to pass on information to other generations and let them continue to do the same thing, you know. I still want to be a player, but that's just not all of me. I mean, teaching is a huge part of who I am. And, you know, I'm going to Korea and Thailand next week to teach and perform over there. And, you know, I'm looking forward to it. It'll be fun, although I'm not looking forward to the trip. But
Yeah, it's a bear of a trip to Asia.
But Yeah, so I'm still trying to play some faculty concerts around here. I love to play with different players. I'm always trying to play with different players, and that's a teaching element too. You know, we try to stress the importance and the opportunity for students here to hear great music at a high level of all kinds every day. You know, I always used to tell my students, this is the Little Apple. You know, it's like New York. You can go any day, there's 3 or 4 concerts of all kinds, you know, string quartet, vocal concert, jazz group, you know. So the opportunities to hear and be affected by that are giant.
You mentioned you're going to Korea and Thailand. I've been to Asia, and it seems as if the interest in jazz is like kind of peaking over there.
Seems to be pretty high, yeah.
Why is jazz a music started in New Orleans? How has it become this worldwide phenomenon? What is it about this music that reaches out to so many people?
Well, it's also part of a kind of an insidious, subtle thing that, you know, we have a big Korean connection right now. A lot of students from Korea. And partially is because of some of our farmer students who have gone back then and that are teaching. and partially because occasionally, well, Stefan Carlson played over there several years ago. And, you know, those are kind of influences that attract students to come over. And, but then it goes back, you know. So I think, to me, there's a nationalistic kind of jazz. You know, when I go to Sweden or to England or whatever, yeah, it's jazz, but it's kind of personal to their culture. You know, I mean, all the subtle influences of folk music or whatever in their culture, and I think that's as it should be. I hate to see people in other countries trying to play carbon copy bebop, you know. I mean, there's still value, of course, in learning bebop and learning the basic principles of the music, but I love to hear players in other countries because it's so personal. It's just different, you know. In Germany, we had a little bit of a problem. I went over to Jamie Aebersold one year, and we did a workshop for a week, and the students are saying, well, why do we have to play all these tunes? Why do we have to learn all these tunes? We just want to play free. And that's big there. Free music, of course, is very big in Germany. And we just told them, well, because all great players have learned how to play by playing this repertoire. And then do that, and then you can play free if you want to, you know. And so, I don't know. I mean, it's different from country to country, you know.
All right, that's it.